Okay, let's talk about the dream team. Devon Larratt. I guess his main motivation was,
his main motivation was that he went to Dubai. He met some money. The money guy said, hey, let's put something together. And in Devon's mind, the best way to promote arm wrestling, in his opinion, is one-on-one super match cards. So that's what happened. It's very simple.
Is somebody in Dubai going to pay for that?
He's hoping that someone in Dubai is going to pay for it. Because he was just there, he seems to think there is somebody, which I think there is somebody too. Because when I went to Moldova, that's how it happened. The guy said, hey, put together a team and bring them over here. We brought Justin Bishop, Scott Wynn, Mike Aiello, Todd Hutchings, John Brzenk, all their wives. It cost us, I don't know, it might have cost $150,000. Everybody comes over. Everybody gets, John Brzenk gets $8,000 for showing up. Travis Bagent getting $40,000 to show up. Justin Bishop, everybody bringing their wife. Everything's free. 6 days, 4 days. I mean, come on, man. And listen, that Dubai money is big money. So,
Okay, two things.
None of this surprises me. It's awesome.
I just watched a brief Devon Larratt clip where it sounded to me like had Milo, his son, not dropped the I'd like to see Travis, that you'd not be included on that list.
If you were Devon Larratt and you had a money man, a guy that loved you enough to tell you to put together something, you would be careful bringing someone who shines as bright or maybe brighter. So Milo recognizes the light, wanted his dad to say, hey, my man, I know you're my son or I'm your son, but don't be delusional and try to say that this guy shouldn't be there. Like, this guy should be there. And I spoke to Devon and I said, Devon, this is what I want. I want you to hire me once. I have hired you 100 times. And what have I asked you to do? Things that you're good at, right? Arm wrestle with people. I will do all the talking. You just be you. Be inspirational. Be superhero-ish, right? Be complimentary, because he's all those things, right? He's amazing, right? So I told him, he said, what do you want to do, Travis? Are you interested in arm wrestling internationally? I said, my man, I'm interested in making money. So you utilize me however you want. If I was you, I would get me a match. I would also make sure that I had some speaking engagement. I would make sure that I had the sledgehammer in their bumper plate, because I bet you those Dubai people would love it if I put on the Travis Bagent skit. Just know that I'm doing it as an employee of yours. Don't be so insecure that you don't cut me loose for fear that I might shine too bright.
And what did he say?
He said, you're the man. I'll let you know how it works out. I also said, could you please put us all together for one big prize rather than all of us making a couple grand and all this bullshit? Like, make it 100 grand to the winner and shut everybody up. Invite 16 people and then open it up to the world with a $500 entry fee. And let's see what's up.
The guys who like super matches, they're hard to get away from that. They like that one-on-one.
Do they?
So, I don't know. They seem to.
I don't know either. I know that Devon likes it. I know that Neil likes it. And I'm pretty sure Michael Todd likes it.
So when you say open it up to 16 and do a tournament format, do people laugh at you? Like, we don't do that anymore. When big money's in it, we do.
Well, I don't know. I think that the regular spectator's all for it. But he has to sense that his hero doesn't love it. So if your hero doesn't love it, you just start to back him. So I would imagine that if he's watching the top 10, then he's okay with Devon introducing that format. And because his love for Devon is powerful enough that he doesn't question, like, in the back row, some guy say, hey, why don't we find out who the best in the world is, rather than having 5 people that can still claim they're better.
So you're telling me this list that I'm looking at, Dave versus Dennis Saplenkov, Devon versus Prudnik, Caderet versus Vitali, that would be it? They wouldn't arm wrestle someone else?
There wouldn't be any. No, of course not. Why would you do that? These are professional athletes that only arm wrestle once every 7 years. I don't know what happened. I have no idea what happened. I used to win the tournament on Saturday. On Wednesday, I was the underdog for the following Saturday because only people cared about what's happening. When's the next tournament? ROTN, the Nationals, the Worlds, the Arnold. But there was cash, right?
Okay.
There's no more of that. There's none of it.
I have to say, my excitement level, I thought those were just the first matches.
So you thought you thought they was going to take a 10-man bracket to 5, but that ain't even how you run a 10-man bracket.
Oh,
no,
man,
no.
I thought that was the teaser.
You thought you saw first-round matchups. You thought you saw first-round matchups.
Oh, my God. I got to be honest. My excitement level just – when I look at that list, I say, well, after that match, I want to see that match.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out now who is the best in the world. And listen, if you win that tournament and you got it and you won it because of a little bit of a luck, let's just say that the bracket worked out in your favor. Now, I'm not saying there's any easy people in there, but let's just say that you took care of your first match efficiently and every other match turned into a complete dogfight to the bitter end. In my opinion, regardless of how that works out, it is totally okay to call that guy the best arm wrestler for this year.
Yeah.
It's completely okay, just like it is in football. It doesn't matter what the bracket looked like. It doesn't matter that all the quarterbacks went down on the other team. No one cares. We set it up as fair as we could. We had everybody there. We gave first round matchups because of society put us in that way. Or we just had a more organized way. I would say by weight. Let Prudnik be at the top and let Levon be at the bottom and everybody who weighs whatever they weigh accordingly. But whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I'm completely okay with Devon's idea because he's the boss. He went over there. He made the connection. He deserves the right to run the show.
Okay.
I am in within whatever capacity it needs to be. However, from a media standpoint, I'm asking the question as why? Why don't we settle this shit?
So just to go back to the haters, someone posted, oh, this show's fucking lame because it's just a big suck Travis's cock fest. It's like, I mean, I don't feel like we're doing that. I just happen to agree with you on some of these things. I like your storytelling. I was like, I don't, because I agree with you, I don't know why it has to come off as, this is just a.
Well, that's the
Travis
craziest part. For you to listen to me say that those are not first round matchups, that is the event. And then for you to also been explained that, man, wouldn't it be cooler to change the format to make sure that when we got done here, it was over. We had the guy, whether it was just for a small time frame, 1 year, 6 months, till something changes. The fact that you hear that information now and you tend to be like, oh, that does make more sense, doesn't mean that you're a Devon hater. Devon has his own show. He will let us know. And I'm sure Michael Todd can let us know. Igor Mazurenko can let us know. Neil Pickup can let us know. Everyone has the right to defend their one-on-one formats. I get it. But I just want to make sure that everyone understands that And I invented those one-on-ones. And before that, we all used to meet together in one tournament. And there only used to be one champ. And I'd like to see that happen in this current climate.
It seems like athletes are the organizations moldable to letting this happen?
I don't think the athletes are in. I think that Devon and Michael Todd want no parts of that tournament.
No. I mean, they're in with this format. Not the tournament format, but Michael versus Levon, Jerry versus Vitali. The athletes would like to.
I don't know. I don't think that any athlete likes the matchups except for Devon likes arm wrestling the guy 40 pounds lighter than him. But no one else is intrigued by the like, I think I should pull Dennis, personally. We've already seen Devon and Dennis.
Okay, so if the athletes aren't necessarily interested in these matchups, then it's
I wouldn't say no. I think that every athlete is interested in working, right? And if you're asking about can I work for the champ, which I say the champ is Devon, right? Just because I say champ all the time. So if Devon is the man and he's putting this together and he is paying people and there is some sort of recognition to be gained, everybody wants to participate because he's the man and we have nothing else to do.
Right? But my point is, if you can get the athletes to agree, is the roadblock organizations, or are they like, yeah, do your thing? Well,
no, I got a feeling, yes, I got a feeling that there will be a huge problem with the organizations. However, I do think Devon is the best to try to infiltrate that. He will not be successful, in my opinion. However, I'm okay with him trying.
So which organization is the most likely to put the brakes on this happening?
I think they will equally put the brakes on at the same extent, which will be a hell to the no immediately as soon as they are offered it. The hell to the no. Now, one of them will eventually be offered the sanctioning body. And then you will see that person lighten their rules a little bit. They might be like, well, maybe. But if you think that their athlete is going over there to participate with the other person's content, then if Devon can pull that off, man, he's the man. Because it's really should just be about money. But I got a feeling that it's going to be the same money it costs to run the event. It's going to cost that same amount of money to be split between Kaplan and Igor. And I just think it's going to be too much.
Here's my closing thought, because we're going to have to cut this short. Not short, but I appreciate your time. But here's my closing thought. There at one time when I was heavily into arm wrestling, there was talk of an arm wrestling union. Now, what happened in the real world when capitalism took off and big business started to make bajillions of blah, 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 you know, someone recognized that the worker was getting taken advantage of, and they created rights. They created rights for the worker to like make sure they weren't just getting raped by the capitalists. And it seems to me that if arm wrestling continues to grow, that the arm wrestlers should like unite to make sure that there's some, I don't know, it feels like.
Well, yeah, but I think the requirements that, or I guess the obligation that the athlete has during the contract is also a good feeling for that athlete. This is, in closing, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people think that these contracts inhibit pullers. The fact is, pullers love to be inhibited. Michael Todd loves that he don't get to see me next Saturday because he don't have to. He can say, oh, I got to talk to my agent. I got to clear it with the WAL. That's a good feeling, because if not, you got to show us. And everybody knows arm wrestling's like golf. You're supposed to do it every weekend, and it's not always supposed to turn out good. It didn't. We turned it into boxing once a year with one match with an opponent that you don't even know. Right? That happens in boxing all the time. So that's my view on it. And listen, it's up to me and you to change it, Gary. All we have to do is syndicate this show, get enough big sponsors that we throw the ARMTV open. And listen, we don't care what your contract is. We do not care. We only need you for one day and one day only.
See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't mean to suck Travis' dick, but he is good at what he's doing. He just found a way to come full circle and like wrap it back, and it's like, oh shit. So what you're saying is arm wrestling has evolved more like boxing, where they match you up with like some guy you know you're gonna lose, when it should be more like golf. And you're saying we have the power maybe to do something about that. That's what
we do. Yeah. I think
like
we do.
Golf,
we need anybody who's interested in us. We need to take all of our resources together. And listen, sometimes the tournament can be so big that if you're not there, you're not the champ. It doesn't matter the participation level. If we pay more, then that guy's the champ. And once we start it, we'll stop the people from signing these terrible contracts where they don't really have to show us their skills.
And you lose your likeness for years? Arm wrestling is not big enough for that.
But here's the good thing. He probably won't sue you, right? Wrong! The dude will sue you. 7 years. Terrible.
And we still
you're the man.
Okay, so your phone call, he comes up with what you were saying is basically a bullshit excuse.
I mean, not bullshit. Who cares what it is? The fact is he's not getting it on ESPN. He's not filming for ESPN. So because of that, he is not going to put up the prize money and have the event.
And how much prize money was it?
I want to say maybe 180, something like that.
It's a lot of prize money.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah, it was. But that's his fault. I mean, the whole thing was his fault. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah. And I understand. Listen, I'm not upset. I understand. As soon I was not even mad 5 minutes later, right? 5 minutes later, I called Casey and I just laughed. I'm like, you ain't gonna believe this. This motherfucker is not doing this. He's canceling. And then the funniest thing was, immediately I called Rockwell. And I'm like, yo, you ain't gonna believe this. This fucking guy canceled the tournament for next month. And he's like, dude, today was the day that we just made the transaction. He just got the watches today and whatever the settlement was. Remember how I told you after we settled in April, he called me and says, yo, we ain't fighting anymore. We're going to concede and give him these $10,000 in watches and whatever. They made the transaction that morning. So right after Kaplan got the watches for suing motherfucker, he canceled the event.
That's weird.
I mean, I'm sure that is very, them two were not connected, but to me they were. Like, yo, you definitely did not have to sue them. Like, you're not even open, right? Like, damn, bro.
Is there a thing that, you hear about faking it till you make it? Some people like, maybe you're just a multimillionaire, but you're happy the world thinks you're a billionaire. Like,
that could easily be true, easily. Because listen, I don't know the difference personally between someone who has 5 million or $1 billion. I do not know the difference. They could trick me so easily. But here's the thing. You're tricking me for no reason because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But the fact is I don't know the truth about Kaplan. However, I mean, he's motherfucker seemed like a pretty good baller to me.
Okay. Here's the thing. At some point, I don't want to get off topic, but I'm just going to admit, at some point, you and I are going to have to talk about Robert Drenk. And I so many times you see someone come into the sport, think they could do something big, make all these promises, and then one day you realize you can't do it. What happens after that? It's a very interesting conversation. But for me, I worry about when I leave did I burn all the bridges? Do I have a bunch of friends?
Well, it's the funny thing about burning bridges. How, like, when someone is in the fight with you and they're in the role of ownership or president or head honcho, and they, like, I believe that Robert Drenk and Steve Kaplan and Marvin Cohen want to do a business transaction that is mutually beneficial for them and the community.
Right.
However, the community will forget about anything that you did in the past that is 1,000 times more than they've ever done. And they will only remember what promises or what in their life was let down by your excursion. So it's funny when someone tells me that they lost a $250 plane ticket when I lost my entire drive, my entire business, almost my marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am sacrificing everything to try to put this together. And you're mad. Like Michael Todd is mad when we were at the CrossFit Games. I gave him airfare, hotel, $5,000 for beating Dave. I think they split it $2,500 each, right? He looks at me and he tells me he's making $40,000 a weekend selling by Salas or some shit. And then he looks at me and says, hey, is there any way you could get Rebecca a pair of Reebok? And I'm like, yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
He calls me 6 months later. You didn't even get Rebecca Reebok. And I'm like, my man, I had to run down to center court and announce the finals. I'm sorry that you couldn't walk your ass over there and pull out your $40,000 goddamn platinum Visa and buy your wife a pair of fucking shoes. I don't know. I don't know. I can't help you. So I believe the community, like Michael Todd, it's easy to forget what's been done for you, and you just dwell and remember something that didn't work out, even though it didn't work out for that person way worse, right? Like the ROTN getting canceled. Who cares if somebody didn't get enough matches to become the ROTN champion that year? My man,
yeah.
I've been fighting for this my whole life, and it's crushed. Like, I believe Robert Drenk does not lose much in business. He's kind of a winner. Yeah. He buys something, he makes it prettier, he sells it for more money, whether it's a mortgage loan, whether it's a RV. I think he's had multiple businesses that are good. I do not think that Robert Drenk wanted to have everyone uproar about letting people in a contract or not in a contract. I mean, the only reason he had you in contracts is because the game of ARM was coming to try to take some of the best athletes. So he definitely, everything that he did was on purpose.
Point taken. So we'll save the rest of that for the day we eventually talk about the UAL. My point was, like, if I mention Robert Drenk's name at the moment, in 100 people, do they say something positive about him or do they say something negative?
I think anyone who's in California and was around him knows he was trying hard. Now, if you want to be, a douchebag, you can say, oh, rich kid tried to buy Armwrestling and it didn't work out. But I don't know. Like, I think Robert Drenk's amazing. I mean, motherfucker's always been cool to me. And he didn't do nothing except try to give some juice, put it in there. The problem was he did need a return on his investment at some point. And I think that he was even looking at some point maybe to break even. And it just wasn't happening in his view.
I guess here's my point. If I'm Steve Kaplan, we've already established I'm a terrible businessman. And I hate disappointing people. If I'm in that situation, I'd probably put money on my credit cards before I cancel the event a month out, because I'd feel so terrible having to tell you. And I just don't know if I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, and I probably would just try to do whatever to pull off the event, not because it's a good decision, but just because I feel shitty but big business people, they're able to just cut, whack, that's.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've had to cancel 2 big tournaments where I've told people to come to do all this stuff. And it was because I didn't have the money and the sponsor canceled or switched the shit up. And
so you had to cancel event too.
Fucking right, dude. Terrible. I had to cancel the second Biotech event. And it was terrible, man. Like, there was fucking 50 guys that had plane tickets or something they claimed 2 months before the tournament. I mean, it's terrible, man. Like,
okay.
And listen, you can feel really bad and not sleep and tell people, or you can beg, borrow, and steal, still not make it, and then tell people. It's like that person is feeling really bad. And to me, when I start thinking about, the $100 that I lost from Steve Kaplan not running the 2017 finals, it didn't seem that important because I thought about everything that he must have lost, and him having to make that decision to cancel is got to be devastating.
Okay, so where I remember hearing about this, and then I think at that point I was kind of like not paying attention to much as arm wrestling, and then period of time goes by, and then poof, I hear there's a tournament, and I'm like, oh, how did that happen? So what happens next? And
1 week, 3 or 4 days go by. I talk to 100 people telling me what a dick face Steve Kaplan is, and I'm telling them, yeah, the fucking guy sued everybody, sued Rockwell. I hate him too. Right. And then Reza from Las Vegas. So Reza calls me. He's like, Trav, maybe we should just put together a tournament and just have people pull. And I said, my man, there ain't no way I'm flying out there and doing all that bullshit. Like, that's a clusterfuck I'm not willing to think about. He's like, well, what if I can pull some money together and do this or that? And I'm like, good luck, my man. So he starts at it, and Reza, and then 2 days later, Karen Bean calls me. She's like, hey, Reza wants us to come out there and help him run a tournament. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, he told me the same thing. I just ain't into it. Like, I don't care enough, and there's too much need to be done. Like, where are you going to do it? All this shit, right?
And where was it? Where was it supposed to be?
So it was supposed to be at, I think it was at the MGM Grand. It was supposed to be phenomenal. It was supposed to be amazing, right? So we're like 3 weeks out, and about the 6th day, I get a call. I guess I get a call from Steve, and Steve says, hey, Karen and Reza are trying to do something out there, and I'm worried about, the backlash that'll be there. What do you think I should do? I said, listen.
Wait, hold on.
Right. Yeah, because Karen asked to do to get some WL hammers.
Yeah, so you're telling me that this guy sued you, fired
sued Rockwell,
fired you.
What I would say.
And he calls you for advice?
Well, he calls me because there has been mention, I guess, of something coming together here, right? So he calls me. He's like, yo, Karen wants to make these WL hammers and stuff. And listen, I can't have WL anywhere, under the stuff.
I missed this. So she's trying to
steal brand. Not trying to steal anything. She's trying
branding.
She's trying to be a good person and try to give the people a little bit. Yeah. Right. And she is willing to spend a couple $1,000s because that's what she does when she comes in as the rescue person. Right. So she's got some money. So she's willing to put up $1,000 or so and make these hammers not quite as big, but, try to give something to the thing. Well, he calls me and he's like, I can't have WL anywhere. Right. So now it's starting to be like Karen, Reza, him. It's like conversations, questions being asked.
Messy.
So finally, I looked at him. I said, listen, here's what I'll do. You give me $15,000. Or no, it wasn't that. It was $1,000 per weight class. There's 4 weight classes, right? So that's $8,000. I think it was $11,500. So it was $21,500, right? I think at the very end of this thing, it ended up being $23,000, right? So he sent 13. So I told him, I said, if you give me this money, I will run the tournament. I'll give $1,000 per weight class. I'll let Karen make those fake mullets. You can put the WL logo on it, and I will make sure that I run the tournament in it. That's not an anti-Steve Kaplan bashing. And it's the least you can do, you piece of shit, for canceling a tournament. So he feels that it's worth it for him to spend $20,000 to $30,000 to stop the bleeding.
So that's your idea. If you don't say that, maybe.
Yeah, if I don't say that, he doesn't do it. He doesn't do anything.
And it's going to be a bash fest, talking shit.
Or it's going to be, if I don't get involved, then they're not going to have the location. They're not going to have anything on point, right? Now, I'm not sure I can do this, but I tell him I can. So he gives me, I think, a total is $13,000 because I used a couple grand to get out to Vegas twice. So I come out to Vegas. I called Stoney's. I called the Hard Rock. I had 3 little tours. The 4th one, we walked in the Stoney's Rockin' Country. Right now, I'm probably 17 days away from the tournament. And I cut a deal with them where they give it to me.
Days.
Yeah, they give it to me free. Stoney's between the hours of 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. So I called Kaplan, I called everybody, and then we issued the tournament back on.
Was it wall branded?
Yes, completely wall branded now. What he didn't want to do, he was then willing to do once I was involved, right? Like, and we got it. So, and I got Karen involved. So he sent $13,000 to Karen. I think $12,000 to me. Karen had the money for the $1,000 for each weight class and those mullets. And then we took in the entry fees and we paid a bunch of, we paid all the referees and all that shit. And I think we gave Steve Kaplan back maybe $1,000 or something. So
Reza, was he part of running the event?
No, Reza was just one of those guys who was going to do it in the park. You know what I mean? And then once we got everything squared away, he just became a referee.
Wow.
But I kind of I was like, they all were looking for guidance and I didn't want anything to do with it. And then I saw a way to make some money. So that's when I went on and went right to the man and like, yo, this is what you need to do. If not, you do whatever the fuck you want.
So this is an interesting situation because here it is. Travis helped save the day, but you wanted to make some money. So you were able to save the day, yet make some money.
And I don't even know if I saved the day because the tournament was terrible.
It was terrible?
We had so many people.
Oh, it was
and
terrible.
We tried to do the 4-corner thing on the ground. It was terrible. There was too many people rushing the fucking thing. It was, we should have put it on the stage. So that was my mistake. I mean, I was just trying. I didn't realize all the resources that we had with Kaplan. And then when they get stripped away, it's fucking brutal, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. We faked our way through it. And I'm sure that I did hear a little grumblings about people not being able to see as well as they normally could. And but don't get me wrong. The finals were all on the top of the stages. But the preliminaries, I could see where I wasn't happy. You know what I mean? That really.
And did you eliminate the Kaplan lynching?
We hope you like the content. Thanks for stopping by. Please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. Now click that little bell icon so you get notified. This was Gary Roberts and Travis Bagent live.
Damn it! Do something else. Don't ever say them 2 names to me.